Good evening, everyone. My name's Amanda, and welcome to Fresh Start. As you get prepared for your practice this evening, as I recommended in the chat box, go ahead and grab any props that you would normally use throughout your practice. Maybe a strap or whatever you've been using as a strap since you've been home, a bolster, blocks, blankets. Feel free to grab whatever you need, and we will get started in just a minute, giving you some time to get those things and bring them to your mat. And today we are going to get started facing the side of our mat. I'm going to start facing the right side of my mat, so I'm facing you. And we'll get started in child's pose. So taking the knees nice and wide on the mat, bringing the big toes together, pressing hips back to heels, and then walking the arms forward on the mat, allowing the forehead and the elbows to soften down to the mat. Maybe taking the first few moments to just sink in and adjust, listening to your body. And then whenever it feels right, go ahead and begin to soften and settle, finding stillness as we begin to bring awareness to mind, body, and breath. Trying to close out any of those thoughts that might start to creep in. Trying to let go of the day as you bring the awareness inward. Let's start by bringing that awareness to the breath. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Deep, full breaths in and complete exhales out. Back and forth. Moving with the breath, maybe starting to bring some gentle sways to the body as you find the breath in and out. And then starting to scan the body from head to toe and toe to head. Noticing what feels right with the body today and what you might need to give a little extra attention to during our practice. And then with those intentions in mind, slowly pulling the forehead away from the mat, walking the hands back in towards the body. We're going to lift the hips away from the heels so that we can turn the toes out towards the edges of the mat. Staying on the knees, begin to walk the knees as far apart from one another as you can, making sure that the ankles are either right behind the knees or slightly wider. Hips in line with the knees, coming into our frog pose. So probably not the most comfortable way for most people to start class, but let's challenge ourselves today to find presence and awareness here. Allowing those inner thighs to open up. And as you begin to soften, maybe you stay up on the hands, maybe you bring the forearms down to the earth. Send the hips slightly towards the back of your mat. Keep the heart open, gazing forward, gazing towards the fingertips. Trying to let go through the outer hips. Taking a few more breaths here. You might need to intentionally send that breath into the hips, into the inner thighs. Try to allow it to feel good. And if you've come down to the forearms, coming up onto the hands slowly, steadily. And then bringing the toes together behind you or towards one another behind you so that you can walk the knees together. Let's untuck the toes and sink the hips back onto the heels, allowing the hands to rest on the thighs, just allowing everything to come back into its space, softening in here. Give yourself a pat on the back now that that's over. And as you're ready, we're going to make our way towards the top of the mat, coming to hands and knees, tabletop pose. So turning ourselves to face the top of the mat, fingers spread nice and wide. Maybe walking the hips from side to side, giving them a little shake out if they're still a little sensitive. And from here, we're going to pick that right leg up and step the right foot outside the right hand. The right foot comes to the mat, toes start to turn out slightly, opening up through that right inner thigh, through the sole of the right foot. And let's take a moment to tuck those left toes under, pick the left knee up and walk it back in space. Bring it back down to the mat, keep those left toes tucked under. Coming into a lizard pose here. Press down into the left toes to open up through the left hip flexor. Draw that right hip back in space. Spiral the right inner thigh towards the sky. And again, just like in our frog, you can stay here up on the hands. Maybe you walk the hands forward, coming to more of an angle, or maybe you come all the way down onto the forearms. Trying to spiral that right hip back in space, opening the inner thigh towards the sky. And again, working to keep the heart open towards the top of the mat, not rounding into the shoulders. Press yourself away from the earth through the upper body. And if you've come down to the forearms, let's work our way back up to the hands. Walking the hands in so they're underneath the shoulders. Slowly, we're going to pick that right leg up, sweep it long behind. Maybe give the foot a little wiggle and a shake. And then sweep the right leg all the way over to the left edge of the mat. Press the hips to the right as you gaze over the left shoulder. Work to stack the right heel above the right toes. Little side body stretch here. And then slowly bending into that right knee. Walking the hands back, sitting the hips in between the legs, coming into your shoelace pose. I know, we're getting all of those nasty poses in early today. So adjusting the legs so that the knees are stacked as much as you can have them stacked. And then beginning to lean forward, grabbing onto the fronts of the ankles. If you'd like to go deeper, maybe you walk the hands forward. And then use the hands, press the fingertips forward to stretch out the low back. Shifting the hips back and down in space. Walking the hands back and towards the body, coming upright. We're going to lean the weight forward, coming back to hands and knees. Right leg sweeps up and back, three-pointed table. As you exhale, that right foot comes back outside the right hand, coming back into that lizard pose. So this time, right inner thigh opens up, sole of the right foot opens up. But we'll plant the left hand, sweep the right arm forward, and then up and back in space, reaching for the back of the mat. You can stay here just reaching, aspiring, or bend into the left knee and reach for the top of the foot or the ankle. Today, we're going to pull that left heel in towards the glute to open up. Opening up through the front side of that left quadricep. Keep pulling the heel in, spiraling the shoulders open towards the right side of your mat. Sink the hips down and forward. Lift out of the left shoulder. And then slowly release. Right hand comes back to the mat. And right knee comes back to meet the left. Adjust if you need to, coming back to your tabletop position. And again, maybe swing the hips from side to side and settling in. As you inhale, that left leg lifts up and step it outside the left hand. We'll tuck those back toes under, lift the back knee up, walk it back in space, keeping those right toes tucked under. Allow the sole of the left foot and the left inner thigh to begin to open up towards the sky. Drawing back through the left hip. Heart stays open, whether you're up on the fingertips, whether you've walked the hands forward, or whether you've come down to the forearms. Keep the heart lifted. Nice and light, avoiding dumping all of your weight into the mat. Trying to keep the spine nice and long as you settle into that tension on the outer left hip. One more breath here, settling, opening. And if you've lowered down to the forearms, coming up to the hands, hands underneath the shoulders. And we'll sweep that left leg up and back, 3-pointed table. Slowly, maybe making some rolls with the ankles, pointing, flexing the foot. And then crossing left leg over to the right side of the mat, toes come down. Left heel points skyward, press the hips left as you gaze over the right shoulder. Feeling a nice side body stretch here through the left side. Inhale, lift the gaze back to center. As you exhale, bend the left knee, sinking hips back in between the legs one more time, coming into your shoelace pose. Adjust your seat if you need to so that you can find that stack of the legs. Begin to sit up nice and tall. Maybe you stay here, pulling on the fronts of the shins or the ankles, or begin to hinge and lean forward. Both sides are different, so feel what's right on this side in this moment. Maybe you walk the hands forward. And if you walk the hands forward, make this an active stretch by pressing the fingertips away from the body. Feeling a stretch into the low back, into the upper glutes. Take one more breath. Settle in. And then begin to walk the hands back in. We're going to roll the weight forward, coming back to our hands and knees. That left leg reaches up and back in space, coming back to that 3-legged table so that you can step the left foot outside the left hand. And once again, we'll settle into our lizard pose. As you settle in this time, that right hand plants underneath the shoulder, that left arm sweeps up, and then opens towards the back of the mat. Again, possibly just reaching here, working to press yourself away from the mat through that right hand, or bending into the right leg, reaching for the top of the foot and hugging it in. It's possible you might need to decrease the angle of the hip by bringing the hip and the glute closer toward the heel, but then as you settle in, try to re-sink. Sinking the right hip flexor towards the mat as you hug the heel in towards the glute. Shoulders open towards the left edge of your mat. And then slowly letting it go. Left hand comes back to the mat. Step the left knee back to meet the right. Tabletop pose. Again, shaking those hips from side to side. And let's let it all go. From here, finding center, hands and knees, fingers spread nice and wide. About 2 fist distance in between the knees. As you inhale, drop the belly, gazing forward. Finally something that feels good, right? Exhale, round it out. Spread the shoulder blades towards the sky. Inhale, drop the belly, gazing forward. And exhale, round it out. Moving back and forth with your own breath pace. Opening into all those little nooks and crannies on the front and back sides of the body. Feel free to add on here, maybe taking some barrel rolls from side to side, or wagging your tail. And if you've gone in one direction, make sure you include the other side as well. And we'll make our way back to stillness after the next round of breath. Nice and strong here in your table. Work to make sure that the hips are over the knees. Keeping them there, start to walk the hands one handprint at a time towards the top of your mat. As you lower the heart and forehead towards the earth, coming into your puppy pose. Again, shine the glutes towards the back of your mat. As you begin to sink in through the upper body. If you'd like to add on, maybe you lift the gaze forward, bringing the chin to the mat instead of the forehead. Allowing this to feel good in the upper back and shoulders. Sinking in, one more breath. Inhale, and exhale, settle. One handprint at a time, reversing, coming back to hands and knees, tabletop pose. And from here, we'll tuck the toes. We'll lift the hips to the sky, coming into our downward facing dog. First downward facing dog of the practice. Take a moment to settle in, finding all of those small movements that help you engage in the pose. We'll be here for another few moments, but if you're done with the movements, feel free to find stillness. And just be content wherever you're at right now. Everyone making their way to stillness, pressing the fingertips down but forward, lifting the inner thighs up and back, sending the heels down towards the mat. As you inhale, begin to roll through the shoulders forward into high plank like a wave. And as you exhale, soften into the knees, tilt the tailbone up and back, leading you back to your downward facing dog. Inhale, rolling forward like a wave. Exhale, bend the knees slightly, tilt the tailbone up and back, coming to downward facing dog. Inhale forward, and exhale back. Two more just like that with your own breath. Forward, soften the knees, extend it back. Last one. Meeting back in our downward facing dog. Inhale, rising up onto the toes. As you exhale, allow both heels to fall over to the left side of the mat. Soften into the knees, but keep reaching through the right hand, finding a nice side body stretch here through the right side. Open that right shoulder up towards the right side of the mat. Slowly, in this side body stretch, see if you can start to lift that right leg up towards the sky, opening the hip up. Extend that left leg. As you exhale, taking right knee underneath the body, crossing it over to the left tricep. Extend that right leg out towards the left edge of your mat. And then allow the hips to come all the way down to the mat as you find a nice wide V. Inhale, get nice and tall. As you exhale, begin to walk the hands forward. Allow the toes to flex up towards the sky. And just as we've done so far in most of our poses, let's work to keep the heart open by drawing the hands or the forearms back in towards the body. That'll help us tilt the tailbone up and back, but keep length through the spine. Legs nice and active. Try to firm those thighs down into the mat. One more breath. And then slowly walking hands back and towards the body, bringing those hands to the outside of the right hip, coming up onto the toes of the back foot, right knee into the chest, step it back, downward facing dog. Settling in here, and we'll move to the other side. Inhale, rising up onto the toes. Exhale, heels over to the right edge of the mat, softening into the knees, reaching through the left fingertips, opening up through the left shoulder. Spiral that left hip back. Find that nice side body stretch all the way from the left pinky finger into the left hip. And as you open up, get light in that left leg, lifting it towards the sky. Extend the right leg. As you exhale, crossing left knee towards the right tricep. And extend the leg out. And again, slowly lower onto the hips, finding that nice wide V again. This time, as you inhale, find that length. And this time, as you exhale, leaning yourself forward as far as you can, taking that nice long fold. Keeping those feet nice and active, allowing them to reach for the sky. See if you can inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, let it go. Inhaling, halfway lift. Walk the hands back in towards the body. Planting the hands outside of the left hip. Bring the right toes to the earth, the left knee into the chest. Stepping up and back to downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in and settle on the exhale. Inhale, lifting the gaze forward. As you exhale, one footprint at a time. Beginning your transition to forward fold at the top of the mat. And when you get there, hanging heavy, maybe softening into the knees, grabbing opposite elbows to picture frame the face, and just hang in your ragdoll. Remaining in stillness, maybe finding a slight bounce front to back, or maybe swaying from one side to the other. Make the sway slow and steady and controlled. And as you're ready to discontinue movement, coming back to center. Making sure the gaze is towards the back of the mat, head is nice and heavy. Releasing the hands down to the earth. Inhaling, halfway lifts. Pausing here, nice long spine. Draw that belly up and in. Send the tailbone back, crown of the head forward. Press down into the big toes. Exhale, let it go. Inhaling, halfway lift. Find that same engagement. Energy coming from every end of the body. And exhale, let it go. Slowly rolling all the way up to standing. Inhale, arms reach up overhead. And as you exhale, hands come through heart center, Samastitihi. Bringing those hands down by your sides. Let's roll the shoulders up by the ears and down the back. Pull up on the quads, tuck that tailbone under. Total engagement here. Inhale, circle sweep. And exhale, hinge and fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, find that length, find that energy. And exhale, let it go. Bend the knees, rising all the way back up. Inhale, arms up overhead. And exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, circle sweep. Exhale, let it go, hinge and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. One more, rising all the way up. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, thumbs to heart center. Let it go. Inhale, circle sweep. Exhale, hinge and fold. This time we'll inhale, halfway lift. And as you exhale, stepping back to high plank pose. From here, weights in the fingertips and the knuckles. Wrap those triceps back. And we'll shift the weight forward, lower down onto the knees. Lower chest and chin towards the earth. Elbows hug in by your sides. Keep those hips nice and high. Slide the hips forward and through, coming into your upward facing dog or cobra. And then tuck the toes. Lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. One more just like that. Gazing forward. This time maybe you walk or hop it forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, let it go. Earth the sky all the way up. This time right back down. Inhaling, halfway lift. Find that length. And exhale, plant the hands, stepping back or hopping back, high plank pose. Again, wrap those triceps back. Pop the back of the heart towards the sky. Shifting forward, lower down to the knees. And then chest and chin follow. Gazing forward, pull yourself through. Finding your back bend. And then tuck the toes. Lift the hips to the sky. Coming into your downward facing dog. We're going to start on the left side so that you can see the poses from the camera view. Inhale that left leg up and back. Press through the heel. Try to square that hip down to meet the right. Exhale, knee to nose, shift it forward. Inhale, up and back. And exhale, knee to nose. Inhaling up and back. This time, drawing it in, step it all the way through. Lowering down onto the right knee. We'll rise up on Janasana, low lunge. Draw that left hip back in space as you press the right hip forward. Try to find some length through the upper body. And from here, we're going to bend that right arm, bringing the hand towards the middle of the back. Maybe you stay here supporting the right elbow with the left hand, or maybe you sweep the left hand around and reach for the middle of the back from the bottom. Creating a bind here. Using that energy to help you lift yourself away from the mat. Keep drawing left hip back in space. Lift the heart towards the sky. And then slowly, we'll tuck those right toes under, lift the back knee up, finding crescent lunge. So same pose, just with that back knee lifted. Weights in the heel of the front foot. As you exhale, begin to lean forward, finding a nice diagonal line of energy. Draw that left hip in even more. Releasing the arms, right arm reaches forward, left arm reaches back. Wiggle the fingers. And then slowly open up towards the right side of your mat. Back foot spins down, reverse your warrior. Lead the left ribs forward and up as you reach back through the left fingertips. Deep breath in, deep bend in that front knee. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, left forearm to left thigh. Right arm reaches up for now. So coming into our traditional side angle pose with a little bit of support. From here, we're going to bring that left fist in towards the heart and bring the right hand to the top of the left fist. So pressing the hands together, working to open up the shoulders, spiraling that right shoulder back in space, but also using that left elbow to help the left inner thigh open up. Spiral that right hip back, pressing into the outer edge of the back foot. Gazing up or gazing down, your choice. Keep those shoulders together on the back. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, open those arms out to a T for just a breath. Exhale, both hands down inside that left foot. Walk yourself to face the right edge of the mat. Toes in, heels slightly out. As you exhale, take your fold. Settling in, maybe wiggling the hips from side to side. Inhaling, halfway lift. And from here, we'll play with the weight, shifting the weight forward into the toes, lift the heels. Exhale, heels down, lift the toes up, shift the weight back. Shifting the weight forward into the fingertips, into the toes. Exhale, shifting the weight back into the heels. Feeling a slight stretch through the back side of the body. Inhale, forward to the toes. And exhale, weight to the heels. Last one, shifting forward to the toes. Press yourself away from the mat. And then exhale, weight into the heels. Coming back to center, exhale, hinge and fold. Let it go. Inhaling, halfway lift. Let's walk ourselves to face the back of the mat, finding runner's lunge. That left hand stays planted, right arm sweeps up towards the sky. Revolved crescent. Work to draw the left ribs towards that right inner thigh. Reaching the right side of the body skyward. Right hip hugs in towards the midline. Deep breath in. Exhale, turn all 10 toes to face what is now the right edge of your mat. And you can stay here or pick that right leg up, sweep it back. Maybe keep it lifted, your choice. One more breath, arc those hips towards the sky. Exhale, right hand to the mat. Centering yourself here, right leg reaches up and back in space. As you exhale, knee to nose, shift it forward. Inhale, up and back. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, up and back. Exhale, knee to nose, shift it forward, step it through, and lower down onto the left knee. Moving to the other side, inhale, sweep the arms up. Still facing the back of the mat, yes. Draw that right hip back in space this time. Cinching the waistline, lift the energy skyward. And this time, bending into the left elbow, reaching for the middle of the back. Staying here, using the right hand to support that left elbow, or sweeping that right hand down and around, reaching up for the middle of the back, seeing if the left and right hands can become friends. If you found it, lift the energy upward, lift the heart, lift the gaze, and then slowly tuck those back toes under, lift the back knee skyward, coming into your crescent lunge. Adjust the weight so it's in the heel of the front foot, maybe lifting up on those right toes. One more deep breath in, square the hips. Exhale, leaning forward with the heart. Nice diagonal line of energy under the arms. Left arm reaches forward, right arm reaches back. Slowly open up towards the left side of your mat. Reverse your warrior, back foot spins down all the way. Lift those right ribs towards the front of your mat. Gazing upward, gazing down. One more deep breath in. Exhale, finding your side angle. Start by bringing that right forearm to the right thigh. Left arm reaching up. Spiral those left ribs towards the sky. Open up through the right inner thigh. And then bring the right fist towards the heart. Left hand kind of frames that right fist. Actively pressing the hands together. Draw the left shoulder back. Use that right elbow to help the right inner thigh open up. Continuing to keep this nice diagonal line of energy. One more breath. Inhale, arms open to a T. Exhale, hands come down inside that right foot. Walking yourself back towards the right edge of your mat. Wide-legged fold. Hanging here, this time maybe grabbing onto the outer edges of the ankles, maybe onto the big toes with the peace fingers. Pulling yourself towards the earth. As always, if your head easily makes it to the mat, try to challenge yourself by walking the feet towards one another and then re-engaging. Lengthening the tailbone towards the sky as you lengthen the crown of the head towards the mat. Work to keep the spine nice and long. Slowly release whatever you have a hold of. Inhaling, halfway lift. And let's walk ourselves back to the top of our mat. Finding runner's lunge. That left foot is forward. Right hand plants. Left arm sweeps up towards the sky. Lift that right kneecap skyward. Hug the inner thighs together. And then slowly take all 10 toes to face the left side of the mat. Staying here in a modified side plank. Stepping back. Fold. Maybe lifting that top leg. Whatever you'd like to do today. Keep reaching the hips skyward. And exhale, left hand to the mat. Centering yourself here in plank. Shift it forward, lower it down, and go through your flow. First regular flow of the practice. And as we come back to our downward facing dog, let's find a few deep breaths in and out. If you'd like to, feel free to come down to the knees so that you can come back to the breath. Use these moments as true rest, allowing your mind to come back to the breath. And notice how the body's feeling right now. And wherever you're at, let's begin to make our way back into our downward facing dog. And as you inhale, starting again with that left side, left leg reaches up and back. Draw that left hip down in space. And from here, exhale, knee to nose, shifting forward. Inhale, up and back. Exhaling, knee to nose. Inhale, up and back, reaching through the left foot, through the left toes. Exhale, stepping it through. Finding that runner's lunge here. Inhale, reaching the left arm forward, and then the right. Finding that diagonal crescent. Allow the ribs to hover over that front thigh. As you exhale, hands come to heart center. Open up towards the right edge of your mat. As you bend into the left knee, rotate the right toes towards the sky. Finding your surfer's lunge or your skandasana here. Sinking that tailbone down, lifting the crown of the head skyward. And I know we do this pose a lot in my class. If it's something that you don't feel is accessible to you, a couple of modifications. You can always bring that base heel up towards the glutes. You can always spiral that right foot down parallel to the back edge of the mat and take a less deep lunge. This is more of a strengthening pose than a stretch though, just so you're aware. One more breath here. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Walk yourself back to the front of the mat. And let's work to extend both legs. Keep the heel of the back foot lifted as you find your pyramid. Draw that left hip up and back in space. Hug the inner thighs together as you fold. Gazing towards the left big toe. Inhaling, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Bend into that front knee and bring that back foot down at an angle as you rise up, warrior one. Settle into the hip structure, left hip back, right hip forward. Pressing actively through the pinky toe edge of that right foot. Lift the back of the heart forward. One breath in. Exhale, hands come behind the back. Bringing the hands together, draw the shoulders back. Extend the arms, lift the heart. As you exhale, nice and long spine. folding inside that left thigh. Humble warrior. Try to draw the left knee and shoulder towards one another, keeping the left hip tucked in. Inhale as you rise up. Roll up onto the toes of that back foot. Take a back bend here, lift the heart. And then slowly again, leaning forward. So you can get light in the right toes as you draw the right knee into the chest, finding your stork. Adjust the hands if you need to, drawing the shoulders together and back. Lift the heart. Tuck the tailbone. Exhale, hinging forward, warrior three. If this is too much, you can always release the fingers, bringing the arms to airplane. Pressing through that back foot, nice and active. Breathe here. Lift the heart away from the mat. One more. And then slowly lower right toes down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, cactus. Lift the heart. And then draw the forearms together in front of the face, palms together as well. Start to open up towards the right edge of your mat as you spin that back foot down. Warrior two legs. Begin to open the arms out, coming into your full warrior two. Inhale, exhale, settle into the front knee bend. Deep breath in. Exhale, finding your variation of side angle. So maybe this time you go a little deeper. Maybe you extend. Maybe you bind. Your choice. One more deep breath in wherever you're at. Spiral that right shoulder back. Slowly unwind and twist. And exhale, hands down inside that right foot. Walk yourself to face the right edge of the mat. And one more time, taking that wide-legged fold. Maybe a sway of the hips from side to side. Maybe you bend into one knee and then the other. Whatever feels good here. Just letting it go. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, walk yourself back to the top of the mat, finding runner's lunge, stepping back to plank, shifting forward, lower down, and go through your flow. Meeting back in downward facing dog. That right leg reaches up and back on the inhale. Exhale, knee to nose, shifting forward. Inhale, reach it up and back. Exhale, knee in. Inhale, lengthen it back. Exhale, stepping it all the way through. Inhale, right arm reaches forward, and then the left. Finding that diagonal line of energy, right hip drawing back in space. Tuck the tailbone. Exhale, hands heart center. Turn to face the left edge of your mat and sink into that right knee bend, finding your surfer's lunge. And sinking hips down, reaching the crown of the head up. Left toes spiral up as well. Imagine drawing that left heel towards the top of your mat, intensifying the stretch on the inner thigh. Continue to find that length as you settle in. Exhale, hands come to the earth. Walk yourself back to the face of the top of the mat. Extending both legs, coming up onto the toes of the back foot as you fold here in your pyramid. Work to stack left heel over the ball of the foot. Right hip draws not just back, but also up. Feel that intensity. If it's too much, you can always lengthen the spine, lifting the heart forward. And as the intensity lessens, then maybe starting to fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. Bend that front knee. Back foot spins down at an angle, toes out, heel in. Rise up, warrior one. that right hip back, left hip forward. Nice energy through the back foot. Tuck that tailbone under. Try to avoid crunching into the low back. Inhale, find length. Exhale, hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, lifting the heart up and forward. And as you exhale, lead with the heart hinge and fold inside the right thigh. Also adjust if it feels right. Maybe you need to walk that right foot out towards the right edge of your mat to make space. That's fine. Your practice, listen to what your body's asking for. Gazing towards that back foot if it's comfortable. Inhaling, halfway lift, roll up onto the toes of that back foot. Lift the heart, maybe a slight back bend. And then slowly leaning forward. Left knee comes into the chest. And take a moment to adjust the arms. Re-engage. Bring the hands together, shoulders back, then work to extend the arms. Exhale, hinging forward. Left leg goes back, warrior three. Pointing, pointing, flexing. That left leg is engaged in some way, shape, or form. Left hip squaring down with the right. Open the heart towards the earth. Engage the belly. And then slowly lower those left toes long behind. Rise up, reach the arms up. Cactus, lift the heart. Exhale, forearms and hands come together. As you open up towards the left edge of your mat, coming into your warrior two legs. So find the foundation here, and then open arms out, warrior two. Keep opening up that right inner thigh. And as you exhale, finding your side angle. Maybe deepening this time, maybe coming back to the same variation as before. Half bind, full bind, whatever feels best for you. Hips are open, shoulders are open, heart's open. As you're ready, unwind, untwist. Left arm reaches up, right arm reaches down. Deep breath. Exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the top of the mat. And we'll step it back, high plank. Shift it forward. Lower down. And go through your flow. On your next inhale, right leg reaches up and back. As you exhale, right knee comes to the right wrist. That right foot makes its way out to the left edge of the mat. As you set up for your pigeon pose, walk that left leg back and make sure that the knee and the top of the foot are pointing down. Maybe a wiggle from side to side. If that right hip is floating in space, grab a prop to support it. And as you're ready, lowering down, coming only to your edge. Try to soften in and allow your breath to return to its normal pace. Set the intention to take one more deep breath in and out. And then we'll begin to walk the hands back in towards the body. Rolling onto the right hip, let's sweep that left leg all the way to the top of the mat. Right foot comes to the left inner thigh. We're going to take the body and turn it towards the bent leg. So that right foot's probably higher on the inner thigh than you're used to. Slowly reaching with the left hand, reach towards the inner edge of the left foot, leaning forward. Leaning forward, nice side body stretch here. If you'd like to, you can sweep that right arm up and then maybe reach it overhead for that left foot or in that general direction. If you have the foot or not, just focus on opening up that right shoulder, spiraling it back in space. Send that left thigh down into the mat. Ending practice with yet another really intense pose. And then slowly allowing that right arm to lift back up by your side. And then slowly unrolling, being gentle, coming all the way back up to seated. Turning ourselves to face the top of the mat again. That left leg sweeps back in space. And then that right leg steps back to meet the left, finding downward facing dog. Inhaling left leg up and back. And exhale, left knee, left wrist, setting up for pigeon on this side. Walking that right leg back in space, making sure the hip, knee, and top of the foot are pointing down. Hips are square. Everything's settling down to something. And if it's in your practice, beginning to walk the hands forward as you fold. Try to release the engagement that right leg might be holding. And as we did at the beginning of practice, possibly sending the breath into the outer left hip. My dogs are angry that I won't let them yoga today. Finding 2 more breaths here. And then walking the hands up and in towards the body. This time we'll roll to the outer edge of the left hip. Sweep that right leg forward, coming to that seated figure 4. That left foot will come up higher than normal as we turn the shoulders to face the bent leg. From here, reaching that right hand towards the inside of the right leg. Begin to lean the right ribs towards the top of the mat. Reaching. Maybe that left arm sweeps up and reaches as well. If it doesn't reach to anything, just send the energy towards the top of your mat. If it does reach, make sure that the reach isn't causing you to round down towards the mat. Instead, you're stacking the shoulders and opening up. Taking one more breath. And then pressing rewind, sweeping that left arm up and down by your side. And then rolling slowly all the way back up to seated. This time we'll turn to face the top of the mat as we plant the feet down and the knees up. Make your way all the way down onto your spine. Maybe taking a nice long body stretch. Noticing that newly created space in the sides of the body. And then we'll hug that right knee into the chest. Give it a good squeeze. Right knee towards the right shoulder. And then cross that right leg over to the left side of the mat. Arms come out to a T. Allow the right foot or the right knee or both to settle to something and soften into the left leg. There's no need to hold tension anymore. Three deep breaths in and out. Allow the inhale to feel good on the low back. And allow the exhale to help you deepen into the twist. Last one. And then slowly unwinding and twisting. Extending that right leg long. And then hugging left knee into the body. Give it a good squeeze. Drawing knee in towards the shoulder. Keep the spine nice and long. And then crossing left leg over to the right edge of the mat. Again, arms come out to a T. Try to keep both shoulders on the earth as well. And allow the right leg to soften. All of that tension's not doing you any good here. And mirroring what we did on the opposite side, 3 deep breaths. Send the inhale to the low back. And the exhale helps you soften in. Inhale. Exhale. One more in. And out. Slowly unwinding. Coming back to center. This time both the knees hug into the chest. Give yourself a good squeeze. And then finding the inversion of your choice for today. Maybe that's a happy baby. Maybe you'd like to find a legs up the wall or supported legs up the wall. Plow, shoulder stand. Yogi's choice. One final breath. And then slowly releasing, being kind, being gentle. Maybe you allow the feet to come down, knees up, finding a constructive rest pose. Maybe the soles of the feet come together and knees go wide. Or maybe you just slide the legs forward and allow the toes to rotate towards the edges of the mat as you set up for your final resting pose. The eyes become heavy. Allow the body to soften, unfurling the brow, allowing the back of the head, the shoulders, the elbows, backs of the hands, the hips, and the heels all to settle in as we meet in Shavasana. allowing a smile to grace the face. Deepening the breath. And finding small movements, wiggling fingers and toes, rolling wrists and ankles. And then extending, reaching those arms up overhead for a long body stretch. Before hugging the knees in and rolling over to your favorite side. Beginning to make your way up to seated on the mat. Nice comfortable cross-legged position. Sitting up tall, hands come down by your sides. Inhale, circle, sweep the arms up overhead. And as you exhale, press the breath out and away. Inhale, rising up, reaching up. And exhale, let it go. One more deep breath in from earth to sky. Breathing in the energy and vitality we've created. And drawing it home to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Taking this energy out into the world and sharing it with everyone you meet. Honoring the light inside and teacher in us all. From the bottom of my heart to yours. Namaste. And as always, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the practice. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. It's Amanda Rupert Coronado. You guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you this weekend.